Hello and welcome to another episode of Cards Unbarred. My name's Ryan, and in this video, I'm going to teach you the 3 to 5 player trick-taking game Zoom Vroom, designed by Takashi Sakaiue. The components in Zoom Vroom consist of 36 playing cards, 6 copies of 6 suits numbered 1 to 5, and note there are 2 different suits for the number 4. The game also comes with 5 player tokens, 5 speed tokens, 6 lap tokens, 25 gasoline tokens, a double-sided score track, and 11 variant cards. These variant cards will be explained at the end of the video. Additionally, all components you see in this video are prototype and may be subject to change. Make sure to check the Kickstarter or Board Game Geek page for more information. Now, based on player count, you will remove certain cards from the main deck. In a 5-player game, you will use 5 copies of each suit. A 4-player game, 4 copies of each suit. In a 3-player game, 3 copies of each suit. Any cards that are unused will be returned back to the box as they will not be used in your game. In this video, we'll be setting up for a 4-player game, so we will use 4 copies of each suit numbered 1 to 5. The last thing to go over is the various ways that you can keep track of speed and lap tokens throughout the game. The first way is using the racetrack, which is double-sided. The A side of the racetrack has arrows pointing in between each of the numbers. That means wherever your speed token is, you always look at the number above it to tell you what speed you're on. So when you're on the start space, everybody looks at the number above, which is 0. If yellow was to gain a speed, they look at the arrow above it, they have 1 speed. If they're here, they have 2 speed. Blue has 1 speed, purple has 2 speed, and so on. The B side of the racetrack is exactly where you are. So it starts on 0. In this case, if you're at the bottom, you have 0. If you move up, in this case, purple has 1, yellow has 1, blue has 3, and so on. If you don't want to use the racetrack at all, you can actually play with just the speed tokens. And when a player wins a trick, they put the speed token in front of them. And when they play their card, they can either put the speed token on the card or just near it as a way to calculate quickly 5 plus 1 is 6. And of course, if they have any gas, they can also play that on the card, 5, 6, 7, 8. If you gain multiple speed, just make sure to keep them near you whenever you keep winning them. And same thing with the lap tokens. If you gain a lap token when not using the racetrack, just put it next to your player color marker. To set up for a game of Zoom Vroom, first prepare the deck as explained in the components section of the video or using the chart on screen now. Then shuffle the deck and deal 6 cards to each player. Players may look at the cards that were dealt to them, but make sure to keep them hidden from all other players. Next, place the racetrack near the middle of the table and within easy reach of all players. Then have each player select a player color and take the token matching that color, as well as placing a speed token on the start space of the racetrack column matching that color. Any player and speed tokens not selected should be returned back to the box as they will not be used in this game. Next, give each player 5 gas tokens, returning any unused gas tokens back to the box. Then place lap tokens equal to the number of players plus 1 next to the racetrack, and any unused lap tokens are returned back to the box. And finally, the last player to drive a car will be the lead player. If players are unsure, decide randomly. Zoom Vroom is a must-not-follow trick-taking game. What that means is the lead player can play any one card from their hand, and every other player must play a card into the trick that has not already been played. If you only have cards in your hand that match cards played, you will have to play a card face down, and how that works in this game I will be explaining shortly. So let's first have the lead player look at their hand and play any card they'd like. Now they've got 3 2s, a 3, and a 4. And let's say they'll go with the 4 to start. And remember, there are 2 types of 4s. There's that purple 4 and the white 4. So this player cannot play this purple 4 because it's already been played into the trick, but they are allowed to play this white 4 because it's a different suit or different color. They can also play their 3s or 5s because those have not been played. So maybe in this case, they will play the 3. Continuing clockwise to the purple player, they cannot play this 4, but they can play anything else. And maybe they'll go ahead and play the 2. Now there are special abilities to the 1s and 2s. I'll get to those in a little bit. Just want to finish out a trick first. So again, they can't play the 3, the 4, or 2, so they can play any of these. And let's just have them play the 5. So after everyone's played a card into the trick, you need to see what the total or final card value is for every player. What you do to calculate that is the number on the card plus any spent gas plus any speed that a player has. At the beginning of every hand, players will always have 0 speed, so unless they spend gas, it will always just be the card value. So in this case, 4, 3, 2, and 5. The highest number wins the trick, and that player can collect all the cards and just discard them. There's no need to stack them in front of you or anything, because the way you track your tricks is by using this board here. So the orange player won, and they will move their speed token 1 up on the racetrack. They will now lead the next trick, and when they play again, they can play anything they want, and let's have them play the 1. Now, before the next person actually plays a card into the trick, the orange player needs to decide if they want to spend any gas. They also check their speed track to see if they add any value to that. Speed is always added, but gas is optional if you have any. So they have played a 1, but they have 1 speed as well on the track. So they currently have a value 2. Every gas you spend increases that value by 1. Speed is more of a permanent boost throughout the round, and gas is a temporary boost for that trick only. So if they put 2 gas on, for example, 1 plus 2 is 3, plus 1 is a total of 4. So they've now played a 4 into the trick. Going to the next yellow player, they can't play this 1, but they can play anything else. Maybe they will play that 3. Again, before blue plays, they can decide to add any gas and add any speed. They don't have any speed, so if they wanted to add gas, they have to make sure they play higher than this person, which again, 1, 2, 3, 4. So if they added 1 gas, they'd also have 4. Anytime there's a tie, earlier played wins, so they would still be winning the trick. So they'd have to put 2 gas on it to be winning, which let's do it in this example, have them put that gas on there. Going to the next player, they can't play the 3, but they can play anything else. If they play a 4 or a 5, because of the 1, the special ability is triggering for this, which would be bad for these cards. But let's just go through it for the example's sake and explaining. Now they've played a 4. Again, they could add gas and add speed. But the thing is, when a 1 is played into a trick, any 4, doesn't matter the color, purple or white, and any 5 played becomes a value 0. Any speed or gas that are spent or added in still count, but the card's value becomes a 0. So in this case, the blue player played a 4, but because there's a 1 in the trick, it becomes 0. So they'd have to spend all of their gas pretty much to be higher to win this trick, which doesn't seem worth it for them now. Going to the purple player, they will look at their hand. They can't play these. They can't play the 1, but they can play these 2 cards. And again, because it's a 4 and a 5, they'd be in the same situation. I'm just going to have them to keep it simple. They'll play the other 4 and we'll resolve the trick. They've played the highest number as we've calculated all of that. So they're going to win the trick. So they'll move up on the speed track. And any gas that was spent in this trick, all of that gas goes to the middle of the table. This is now available for players to earn. The only gas that players can spend are there from their personal supply in front of them, but there's gas that can be in the common supply area that's not actually available to anyone unless you play cards face down or play the 2, which is what we'll explain here shortly. So yellow won the trick. They will now lead the next trick, and actually this is perfect because they have a 2 in their hand. They will lead the 2. And the 2's ability is to immediately gain any gas that's in the middle of the table. They just gain 1 specifically, not as many, but they take 1 of the tokens and put it in their personal supply. This happens immediately because when you spend gas in the trick, that gas you earn from playing this card can also be used. So if yellow didn't have any gas at all, played a 2, they'd earn 1 gas, which is included in that they could spend it. In this case, though, they have 4 gas. So going and recapping everything, they've played a 2, plus their 1 speed, they currently have a 3. They could add gas if they want to increase it, but I think for now they're just going to play that 2. Going to the blue player, they can't play a 2, which they don't have, so that's fine. But what they're considering doing is actually playing a card face down. So normally, if you can't play a card into the trick, you must play a card face down. However, at any time, players are allowed to play a card face down, even if they would be able to play face up. When you do this, you announce, I need a tune-up, and then you'll play any card from your hand face down. When you do this, you're guaranteed losing the trick. This player, blue player, cannot win. You cannot spend gas on face down cards, and you do not add any speed if you've played it. You are basically playing nothing. You are not even playing into the trick, but what you are doing is trying to gain this gas in the middle at the end of the trick. So let's finish resolving it so I can explain that. Again, coming here, purple player is going to do the 4. And they're currently winning 4-3, but they know the orange player has a speed. So just to boost it up a little bit, they'll add 2 gas. And then coming to the last player here, they can't play the 4, but they could play the 1. So if they play the 1, this becomes a 0. 2 gas makes it 2. They've played a 2 plus 1 for a value 3. So if they play this 1, they need to get to 4 to actually win the trick. 1 plus 1 is 2, 3, 4. They are winning the trick. Now, all of this little addition and stuff seems more complicated than it actually is in practice. Me doing it by myself individually, I have to count them all up. But when you're playing by yourself, you really just have to keep track of your own number and say your number out loud as you play it. And if anybody asks, you should remember your number. So it's a lot easier to keep track of. There's also different ways you can use this score track to do your speed, which I'll explain here a little bit in the end. But let's finish resolving the trick. So this player's won. They're going to go up in speed. And any player that played a card face down gains all gas from the middle of the table. If multiple people played face down, you split this gas as evenly as possible, and any remainder is removed from the game. And I mean removed permanently, never to be seen again from this game. So if these 2 players played, they'd each get 1, and this 1 remainder is gone forever. Okay? But in this case, only 1 player played face down, so they're going to get all of this gas. However, another caveat to gas is no player can have more than 5 gas in their personal supply at any time. So all 3 of this gas would go to the blue player, but they're at their limit. They've gone over it, in fact. So any gas over 5 is also removed from the game. And then any gas that was spent on cards goes into the middle. The ordering of that is important because you resolve face down cards first with the gas in the middle, then move gas played on cards into the middle. So this gas that was spent in this trick doesn't get included until future tricks. Now we clear out the cards and make sure when you're clearing cards, any cards that are played face down stay face down. This is hidden information from players, so you can't see what was played in that case because they could have played face up potentially. So they're trying to keep some hidden information because ultimately this game is a last trick game. All of these tricks that we're playing right now are to gain a lap token. And the way you gain a lap token is by winning the last trick of the hand. To win the game, you need 2 lap tokens, which means you have to win the last trick of the hand twice. So all of these hands that we're playing now is gaining speed to increase the card when you play in the last trick to hopefully have a high enough value so when you add your card plus your speed plus any potential gas, you have the highest number to win and gain a lap token. But of course, because with gas being limited, it's getting removed from the game. So the gas economy can start to dwindle as gas gets burnt out. So you have to be careful and keep in mind how much gas players have at any time. And also, at the end of the hand, after a player has gained that lap token, all speed goes back to 0, but all gas stays where it currently is. So if a player starts the hand with 5 gas, they have 5 gas. But if a player starts with 1, they only have 1 gas at the beginning of the hand. Again, every gas, the state stays the same where it is trick after trick and round after round, but speed will reset at the end of the round. Of course, you also reset the deck by gathering all cards that were played after the 6 tricks were played, shuffle them together, and deal out 6 cards per player again. And the player that completed a lap by gaining the lap token will lead the first trick of the next hand. There are 3 modular variants included in Zoom Vroom. However, it is recommended to play the base game a few times first before including any modular variants, and all players should agree before the game starts which variants are being used. With that in mind, let's go over the 3 variants now, starting with the larger hand variant. To use this variant during step 1 of setup, you'll prepare the deck by adding 1 additional copy of each suit. The game plays out exactly the same, except players are dealt 7 cards instead of 6. You will still only play 6 tricks in a round, but when you get to the 6th trick, you'll have 2 cards in your hand. One card you'll play to the trick, and the other one you will hold on to and carry it over into the next round. So when you shuffle and deal, do not gather the cards that players leave in their hand for the following round. You'll only shuffle and deal 6 cards to each player, but they will have a 7-card hand, 6 new cards, and the 1 card they carried over from the previous round. So this variant allows for players to have some potential decisions in that last trick. Normally you only have the 1 card left and you have to play it, and it's possible that if you have the same card as someone else, you're forced to play it face down, whereas you might have the option between the 2 cards to pick a different one and hold that card over into the future round. Otherwise, the rest of the game is exactly the same. The next variant is the new Zero suit. These cards have the same back as the rest of the cards. When using those, you will replace 1 suit that all players will agree upon at the beginning of the game with the zeros. For example, you could get rid of all of the 4s, and that way there's only 1 type of 4 in the deck, or you could get rid of all of the 1s. Whatever players agree upon, just remove all copies of that number and replace it with the zeros. However, if you're using the larger hands variant, instead of adding 1 additional copy of each suit, you will instead add the 0 cards into the deck. In this way, there will still be 7-card hands, but you'll have 7 suits. So in a 4-player game, there'd be 4 copies of each number 1 to 5, and then you'd have the 4 copies of the 0 cards. The zeros work like any other suit in trick play. They must adhere to the must not follow rule, so if someone plays a 0, no other player can play a 0 into the trick. Zeros also have a special ability when played. You will choose between 2 options. The first one is to gain 1 gas that has been removed from the game and put it back into your personal supply. Of course, if you already have 5 gas when you play this card, you would gain the gas and then you would immediately remove it from the game again, since you cannot have more than 5 gas. The other option you can pick is to gain 1 speed on the racetrack. If no gas has been removed from the game at the point you play the 0, you must choose to increase your speed. Another important distinction, removed gas from the game is not the same as unused gas from setup. So when playing a 4-player game, there's 5 gas that was returned back to the box. That is separate from gas that has been removed from the game, and make sure you don't confuse them when playing with the zeros and gaining gas that's been removed. The final variant are the 0/5 cards. When playing with this variant, give each player 1 of these double-sided cards and putting it face up on the table in front of them. So in a 4-player game, each player would have 1 and the final one would get returned back to the box. Then once per game, on your turn, you may choose to play your 0 or 5 card into the trick instead of a card from your hand. You cannot play this card if you have 5 gas, if there's been no gas removed from the game, or if another player has played their 0/5 card into the trick. After you play your 0 or 5 card into the trick, you will resolve its special ability and add any gas and speed as normal. Then after playing your 0/5 card, you will play a card from your hand face down as well, so that way you stay at the even number of tricks with all other players. Then after the trick is resolved, return your 0/5 card back to the box. It can only be used once per game. Now the orientation in which you can play the card is based on the number of lap tokens you have gained throughout the game. If you have 0 lap tokens, you can only play the card as the number 0. But if you've gained 1 lap token, you may play the card as the 5 or as the 0, it's your choice. As you can see the reminder of the colors, the 5 is the gold color, which matches the lap token, whereas the 0 is the blue color, which doesn't match the lap token. But again, if you play the card when you have a lap token, you can choose. If you don't, you must play as the 0. When you play the card, it's equal to its value, and again, it applies to any other rule. But the one thing to mention is when you play it as a 5, it is considered a different suit. So if somebody plays the green 5, you are allowed to play this in the trick as well. The special ability for when you play the 5, you gain 1 gas that's been removed from the game. And when you play the 0, you gain 2 gas that's removed from the game. If you are playing with both the 0/5 variant and the zeros variant, It also applies the must not follow. If somebody plays a 0 into the trick, nobody can play their 0/5 card on the 0 side. Otherwise, that's everything you need to know to play Zoom Zoom Vroom. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them below and I'll get to them as soon as I can. Thanks so much for watching.